This is Srikanth live from Los Angeles, and we have an incredible show coming up. First of all, a very warm good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our listeners anywhere in the world. Thank you very much for tuning in. For many of you that were listening last week, you heard from Professor Rajiv Gowda from IIM Bangalore and the man behind launching a course for aspiring women politicians. So it's a kind of special training program to train women in politics and get them ready for the upcoming elections. And that's what Rajiv Gowdaji has expressed on NRI Samai. So we were wondering, is it really possible that there can be such a training that can help women? As take any field or domain one works on, and anybody would need some basic training on how to go about it. But politics is one specific topic where one gets absolutely no training. And we hope that show was absolutely useful for listeners around the world trying to spread the message that such and such training has been going on. We've got some feedback from you, friends, and thank you very much for sending feedback. Do keep them coming to nrisama@gmail.com. And today we have an incredible show, and we also feel from NRI Sama it's absolutely important to do such a show. So the data on parliaments across the world reveal that India, the largest democracy, lags much behind other countries, including its neighbors such as Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal, when it comes to women's participation in politics. So India shares the 105th position with West African country Cote, and it's also ranked 85 places below Nepal and 53 places behind Pakistan. And even China is at 60th spot, and Bangladesh at 65, are all well above India is right now, according to the IPU data. So the background of having such a data, and I'm proud to announce three incredible women joining us from Mumbai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad, who had literally no political background, but just took the decision to jump into politics and in terms of the nation. So role models for sure, no doubt about it. So let me first introduce Meera Sanyal ji, who's live right now from Mumbai. Meera Sanyal ji is a banking professional in India who was contested as an independent candidate in 2009 Lok Sabha elections from Mumbai South constituency. And her decision to stand as an independent candidate from South Mumbai has grabbed considerable attention from the national and international media as well. And also standing against two sitting MPs who are having a very good background, and 18 other candidates, she has become a symbol for new clean politics that many Indians aspire to vote for. So Meera ji is also a chairperson and country executive of Royal Bank of Scotland. Incredible background and also two different worlds totally. Meera ji, welcome to NRI Samai show. Thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you. Very great pleasure to join.
Thank you, ma'am, and we appreciate your time today. And also joining us from Hyderabad, we have Hyma Praveen, a successful entrepreneur from Houston, US, and whose love towards politics and intense desire to change the society made her quit and return back home. While in US, I'm sure I've got a lot of information about Hyma, interesting as well. She played a key role in bringing an awareness about NRI voting rights. She's campaigned a lot, and also she was the brain behind participation and calling of all the MPs to campaign for NRI voting rights. And she also played key role in Kill Corruption campaign, and she was the leader in Kill Corruption campaign, and she shouldered the responsibility of Jan Lokpal campaign as well in the United States. Thank you, Hyma, for joining in from Hyderabad.
Sure, pleasure is all mine. Thank you, Srikanth.
Thank you. We'll be having Shantala Damle live from Bangalore as well. She did her MBA from Virginia Tech, worked for several companies in Washington, D.C. metro area for about 12 years, and a great passion towards society, and believe that fundamental change starts from politics. She returned back to India. Also, interesting backdrop as well, even before stepping into politics and she taking the decision to contest from Baswangudi, she has actually worked as a campaign manager for Ashwin Mahesh in Bangalore for MLC election. She took the lead role in organizing the entire campaign. She single-handedly managed it very well. And also she campaigned, she was a campaign manager for Nisha Singh, who quit her job in Google, and she became the councillor in Gurgaon. So I hope Shantala will be joining us very soon. First of all, Meera ji, I've talked about staggering numbers of women participation in politics, and I'm seriously concerned. What do you get a sense of it? Why is that we have such a bad backdrop of women not stepping into politics? What's still going on, Meera ji?
So I think there are a couple of things, Shrikant. Mm-hmm. You know, you can only be a candidate if you stand as an independent or as you stand as a party candidate. And if your parties do not select women, then clearly the number of candidates who will be participating is fewer. As you know, we have the Women's Reservation Bill, which was supported by most political parties, but that hasn't yet been enacted. Mm-hmm. And therefore, while we talk of having a 33% reservation, most political parties are simply not putting up enough candidates. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is the reason why you have such a poor representation of women in our assemblies and in our national parliament. The situation on the ground, of course, is slightly different because you have reservation of seats at the panchayat level. Mm-hmm. And so certainly in the villages, you're seeing a greater participation of women participating in local self-governance. But that we haven't seen in the higher legislative and parliamentary stages.
But the sense I get is we equally have a very good women population, and women are absolutely dedicated. They understand the surroundings quickly. They know the basic problems of life, and they are the ones who handle the family. It's surprising why in this world is that women politicians who step up and then contest elections are not being recognized in the way it should have been, Meera ji.
So you're right. I mean, wherever we have seen women politicians step up, I think they seem to do a better job. And over this last year, into 2012, I have undertaken a journey to the villages of India. And over a period of cumulatively 4 months, I have spent time in about 120 villages in 12 states. And across this whole, area, I have found that panchayats where the Gram Pradhan or significant amount of ward members are women, you see tangibly that the outcomes of governance are better. They are utilizing government schemes in a better way, whether it is NREGS or any of the other schemes that the government has. You will see that the schools, the teachers are attending and they're teaching children. You will see that the primary health center is manned. You will see that the chapakals or the water pumps are placed in the right places. You clearly see hygiene, sanitation, education, all of the parameters are better managed when women are in charge. And that is exactly for the reason that you mentioned, that as a mother, as a housemaker, as a wife, you know what the issues of the household are. You know what it takes to get children better educated, to have a healthier family. And if you have the influence, you will absolutely make that happen. So there's no doubt in my mind that women make as successful, if not better, politicians than men. The issue is they should get the opportunity.
And this is so surprising that women voters actually drift the entire equation of any constituency, and that's the sense all these people who analyze politics keep on saying, that if women are totally drifted towards a candidate, it makes really hard for the opponents to win against the candidate. So why are women so divisive, and what's actually going on? Let's take the example of Mumbai South. You had a greater chunk of women in that constituency, and what is happening? Of course, in panchayat level and all, any good candidate they're winning with sweeping margins, and that's the phenomenon we are seeing. We had a conversation with Meera Patkarji and others who have started off NAPM and other organizations wherein they field their candidates. Aruna Roy, for example, they field their candidates for panchayat and block or ward levels, and they're able to see some women winning with greater margins. And when it comes to MLA MP elections, it's not that case. What's so divisive about it? What's so complicated in this spectrum of things, Meeraji?
So as I said, I mean, you don't see the parties putting up women. I mean, you see actually a lot of political parties putting up people with very dubious antecedents. So, there's been a big movement in India saying, why do we have criminals who are elected to parliament? More recently, people are saying, why are people who have charges of rape and molestation against them up? The real issue, I think, in Indian politics is the political parties put up candidates who they believe will win. And it seems that they don't believe that it is the women candidates who will win. So until they start putting up good, clean candidates, whether they are women or men, you will see that there is a lacuna in Indian politics.
And in the backdrop of this, we have, I'm sure Hyma would pitch in here, because you've brought up two important things. Parties reluctant to put in candidates, and you have brought in one other concept of the decriminalization of politics, and talking about that on all forums. Now, we have Hyma Praveen, who's contesting as a Lok Sabha candidate, and who's confirmed her ticket for Sanat Nagar. And her mentor, Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan, who started the Lok Sabha movement and the Lok Sabha party, has been the one who advocated against decriminalization of politics, and he has also taken the message in Maharashtra along with Anna Hazareji way back in 2002, if I'm right. So, Hyma, just pitch in and tell us, now that Lok Sabha is giving opportunities for women fielding candidates as Lok Sabha candidates, and also encouraging them, what's the sense you get? You're right now campaigning aggressively in Sanat Nagar. What's the sense you get, Hyma, in Sanat Nagar? How receptive are people, and how do you think if parties are giving tickets to good, clean women candidates, do you see hope there, Hyma?
Yes, Shrikant. Let me put this in a scenario. Like in Sanat Nagar constituency, which is in Hyderabad, we have actually 7 divisions. So we would actually have 7 corporators. And in the previous elections, GHMC has 50% of the seats reserved for women. So out of the 7 divisions, 4 divisions are supposed to be women seats. And except one candidate, rest of the 3 candidates are the dummy corporators. What it means is that the husbands run the show. They are just there. So what happens is, in a general sense, when a woman stands up for an MLA or a higher position, the typical sense is that she's not really as empowered as she should be. In terms of, she's just used as a dummy candidate where the husband wants to run the show if it's a reserved locality. So what it has done to the general psychology of the constituency is that when they see a woman, they don't think that she's genuinely qualified to run for a political office. So this is one disadvantage that I had been seeing, because yesterday again on Jan 26th we went for a flag hoisting ceremony, and then the corporator has showed up and she literally didn't do anything. I mean, the husband was running the show all along, and everybody knew. And mostly when they want to come meet the corporator, they actually meet the husband. They don't actually meet the real corporator. So that is the sad state of things in AP politics today, wherein even though it is corporate level seats are reserved for women, 90% of them are taken over by men, and men are the ones that do the campaigning. They do the poll management and everything, and just because it is reserved for women, it is their wife or sister or somebody standing up for the position. So that's one disadvantage that we'd have to fight. That being said, there is a general change of mindset as far as the educated masses is concerned. They now see women as emerging force, and they are willing to take women as good leaders. So on the urban side, I see some difference. But it really comes to the ground realities at the corporate level. I am honestly disappointed with the kind of candidates that we have in my constituency.
Let me ask you this, Meeraji. 2009, forget it, lost. 2014, hoping that something good will happen. 2019. The general sense we see is people always talking about, and I'm not looking for a clean or good candidate. I want a useful candidate. How useful are you to me? I'm not worried whether you're corrupt. I'm not worried what you do. I'm not worried where the money is coming from. I'm not worried what's the source of income. All I want is my life is miserable, and how are you as a candidate going to help? And that's exactly when I'm going to vote for you. If you're a good candidate, I'm going to go and tell 10 people that you're a good person, nice person, honest person, and my blessings are with you. But if I had to vote you, I vote for you, then my fundamental question is, how in the world are you going to help me? So 2014, how are you going to address this fundamental question of these people, Meeraji?
So I think, Shrikant, you have raised a very important point. And I was having a very interesting conversation the other day with someone who was quite knowledgeable about American politics. And what he said to me was, he said there's a very interesting parallel. This happens in every country depending on its stage of development. And his analysis was that at the turn of the last century, American politics was in many ways not very different from Indian politics. And his analysis was that when a state fails in its basic duties of providing its citizens with basic amenities, with security and justice, then the electorate looks to someone who can provide that to them. So if we take, say, for example, someone living in a slum in a major Indian city or living in a village in India, they are looking to the government to provide them with basic infrastructure, drinking water, toilets, roads, electricity, access to public transport, something as simple as school education, health facilities, etc. Now, the state clearly is not able to provide this to many of its citizens. Mind you, India has made a lot of progress, but still if you go into a slum in any one of our cities, these amenities are not there, and in many of our villages also they are not there. Also, security and justice, right? So if you're living in a jhuggi or a jhompri or a slum, and there is a gang lord there, and he, administers justice, the state's writ is not running there, and that is something we know. So for the people who are poor, the state is represented by your elected representative who becomes your Mai-Baap. And you go to him and you say, all right, if I vote for you, will you do this for me? And it becomes a transaction. So we're not talking about money. We are talking about the delivery of basic services, security and justice. And in that context, would you or I do any differently? And the answer is no. So in fairness to the people who are voting, when they go out and vote, and they vote for someone who delivers this to them, they are doing something which is perfectly rational. And what I found interesting was the analogy which this gentleman shared with me, which said that at the turn of the century, American politics was also like this. It was dominated by, the mob, by people who had crony capitalism, etc. So American politics at that time was dominated, in his analysis, very similar way. Now, as you have a middle class which is growing, it's exactly as Hyma said. As the middle class grows in size and in affluence, remember that the middle class, even in India, if the state is not able to provide those amenities, is able to, provide it for itself. So if there's no electricity, you have diesel generators. If there's no water, you get water tankers. If there's no security, you live in a gated community. You have private schools, etc. So the middle class is then able to say, all right, the state is not providing this to me. What I need is good governance. And why has the middle class now taken to the streets? Because the corruption in India has crossed, in their view, acceptable limits. And by the way, also, I think in the views of most rational people. I mean, some of the scams we talk about, whether it's 2G or, the Spectrum or the Commonwealth or the mining scandals have really gone, disproportionately out.
Right.
And then the security incidents, if you look at what happened in Delhi recently, people are now turning around and saying, all right, while we live in our gated communities, we might be safe, but our children are not safe traveling in public transport. And how can that be? So the middle class is now saying, we demand good governance and security. And the real issue is, in the coming elections, who is going to come out and vote? Typically, the middle class has not come out and vote. If you look at the voting percentages, whether it is in South Bombay or South Delhi or any such place, the voting percentages of the middle class is typically very low. And I would put it this way, Shrikant. The poor go to vote because they have nothing to lose. The middle class don't come to vote because they perceive they have nothing to gain. Now, when that balance changes, when the middle class realizes that good governance and security are the basic and fundamental rights of all of us, they will then come out to vote, and then candidates who stand for that have a chance of winning.
Wow. Great analogy. Wonderful. And I've got a quick question rolling up from Srihari from Los Angeles. I have a follow-up question to Meera ji. Now you're saying that you'll provide social justice and access to basic needs. That is what the other guy is also saying. So why should, how would they believe who's right? And that's exactly where the conflict of interest is happening. So that's the question he has got. How do we answer this?
So Srihari, I mean, what I was actually saying is that it is the state who has to provide that. It is not the job of your MP or MLA to do that. A road, a public access to public transport, clean drinking water, these are basic amenities that the state has to provide. And the first and fundamental duty of any state is the right that every citizen has to security. And I would be very specific about it. I believe that any citizen of India, just as any citizen of the United States, irrespective of gender, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, community, should be able to walk safely at day or night in any part of the country, no matter what they are wearing. And unfortunately, that is not the case today. So it is the job of the state to do that. And that is what we should be demanding. Now, the people who are very poor, this sounds like a glorious thing to them because they are not even getting drinking water. So, of course, it is a conflict, and this is the reason why politicians who offer these things, who guarantee a school admission, who guarantee that you will get a public stop, who guarantee that you will get a public toilet, will win an election. But that is not the job of an MP or an MLA. That is the job of the government. You should have a police force which works. You should have a judiciary which enforces justice. You should have drinking water, etc., etc. And what I am saying is when the state starts doing its job and the middle class grows in size, then good governance and security will start winning elections. Until then, people who promise basic amenities will continue to win.
Interesting. And then also, the mantra of middle class, it's been that's the buzzword we've been hearing in the past. And then it gained a lot of prominence in the past couple of years. And thanks to Anazar and all this India Against Corruption, so many things coming in. My question to this is, I think it's a totally new, transformed India right now if you compare to the year 2009, Meera ji, when you contested elections. Hyma, my question to you is, now citizens are very aware of what's going on. Middle class seems to be a bit more active in reality. That's what we are talking about, and that's what the media is also projecting. People are also asking questions, and we are seeing that in the Delhi gang rape case, people coming out in the open and then asking questions. They're also coming out of the streets, fighting for their rights. Do you think this awareness is going to help you in your campaign for 2014 and also in the outcome of votes, Hyma? What do you think about this?
Yes, definitely, Shrikant. The middle class coming out definitely would help because when I'm going for my membership drive or when I'm on the streets, typically I see middle class stopping by, showing some interest in politics, especially some old women, middle-aged women coming and talking about politics, which was not the case 10 years ago. And this definitely improved our chances of honest political party like Lok Sabha or honest people coming out and contesting in elections. However, I don't think that is enough to really win an election. In spite of the middle class being really taking interest in politics, I don't think they are there yet as far as finding solutions are concerned. Take the example of Delhi gang rape. Thousands of people showed up on the streets, but did we take it to a logical conclusion? I mean, really know what we want? Did we all come onto the same page? Or, we are actually at the initial stages of a revolution, I feel, wherein we are just showing our anger, but we are not putting it in the constructive way, wherein we really understand the long-term solutions. I don't think the movement is sustainable as of yet. It is growing it's coming in spurts, and then after a month or a couple of months, the energy is fizzling out. So I don't think we are there yet. So as far as winning the elections is concerned, yes, I think 10 or 20% of the middle class would help, but it will ultimately boil down to how well you are able to reach the masses. Because all good things said about middle class, it is ultimately the lower middle class votes that will really decide whether you're winning or losing. So.
Yeah, I get the sense of it. Now I have a question rolling in from Usha Thuragavelli Garu. So a question to Meera ji. You're an unlikely politician. I think it could be applied for both of you. I'll take a quick insights from both of you. You're an unlikely politician who will in all likelihood become the ideal, quintessential leader. But still, we see only very really linear kind of new leadership emerging. Why do you think it's not changing? And I'm not asking in the context of Telangana. Where's the movement is essentially a people's movement, but no new leaders are emerging. Any insights on that front, or was I clear?
So let me take a stab at it, Shrikant. Usha, I think you're right. I mean, to be quite candid with you, when I stood in 2009, many people thought it was a very chaotic thing. Some people thought it was also rather foolish. But what I noticed after the election, I announced my candidature. A week later, Captain Gopinath also stood as an independent. He was from the corporate world in Bangalore. And a week later, Mallika Sarabhai from Gujarat also stood as an independent. And then the three of us were kind of independents who were fighting the election. And it was considered a bit unique and novel. And I would like to draw your attention to the fact that actually at the time of independence, this was very mainstream. The people who joined politics, if you think back to the Indian independence movement, were all people with ideals, people with integrity, people of intellect, and that was considered the norm at that time. Somehow in the last 3 or 4 decades, that space got abdicated. You know, good people, whatever you define good people as, felt that politics was a dirty business, and there was therefore a vacuum. And politics therefore became the domain of people who considered it really a route to acquiring a lot of money and a lot of power. And so we kind of abdicated that space, and that vacuum got filled by people who are not doing so well for our country. Now the point is that we have to regain that space. Good people have to enter politics. And there was, to me, one of the salient things that I always remember is there was a man called Rajaji, who was a contemporary of Gandhi and a great leader of this country. And he said that he believed and he held every educated Indian accountable to be political. That doesn't mean that everyone has to be a politician, but politics affects every part of our life. And it is important that we take an interest in politics and that we participate in the political process. That is very critical. And what I have been encouraged in the years since the 2009 campaign is the number of people with an independent voice, whether they join a party of good politics like Lok Sabha, but people with an independent voice, standing for clean politics and good governance, the number of people who have entered. And I sense that the 2009 campaign, that step to step into politics, was like a stone in a pond. It sent out ripples, and other people started feeling it is fine, it is acceptable, it is good to join politics. And that is what we need. And what I would say to people like Hyma and Shantalal is it does not matter whether you win or lose, but you must stand. Stand for what is right, because this country needs good leaders. And we have a great shortage of them. And at some point in our lifetimes, I am confident that people like us will succeed. It may not be me, it may not be Hyma, but people like us will succeed, and it is worth standing.
Excellent message to upcoming people. And wonderful insights. I don't know when the situation is going to change or where the drift in mindset, but definitely I'm hoping, as you mentioned, Meera ji, things are going to change if people are persistent. And as you said, the ripple effect, like if Meera ji is standing in Mumbai, mentioned Captain Gopinath standing in Bangalore. I think Air Deccan was his brainchild, and also we have Malika Sarabhai, daughter of Vikram Sarabhai's daughter. She also contested against L.K. Advani in Gujarat. So seems pretty. Let me ask you this, Meera ji, as a follow-up. Why is that all the elite group prefer to be independents? I think that we are having some platforms that are coming up, or we already have. We have already had these platforms. We see a few new parties now who are talking about clean politics, clean candidates. Take the case of Aam Aadmi Party, Lok Sabha Party, Liberal Team of India, started by Sanjeev Sablok. And do you have any idea about these parties? Do you closely monitor them? If so, what do you think of these platforms in the context of you in the context of you contesting as an independent candidate? And I'm curious to know what's your take on each one of these, if you are aware of them.
Yes, certainly, of course. Aware of all of them and respect all of them very greatly. So Lok Sabha and certainly Jayaprakash Narayan, extremely fine person and a very, very good platform. Likewise with Kejriwal and with Aam Aadmi, I think he has taken a very courageous stand, and India has to thank the movement against corruption, because we cannot become a modern nation state, we cannot enter the league of great nations if governance is corrupt in this country. And certainly I know Sanjeev very well. As you may know, I'm also the president of the Indian Liberal Group, so have very, good and close working relationship with Sanjeev as well. I think all of these new parties are a step in the right direction. But there is certainly one thing I have to say, which is that the logistics of fighting an election in India are very formidable. And in India, as in many other countries, it is the 3 M's which are very, very powerful. Money, muscle power, and manpower. And the established political parties have these in abundant measure. And our constituencies are very large. I mean, we are talking of constituencies of 17 to 20, 30 lakh people. That is 1.7 to 2 to 3 million people. And to fight an election with that kind of constituency is really a logistical exercise. So the real challenge is that the new parties have to find a strategy to counter this, or alternatively, the game has to change. If our electorate places a value on clean politics and good governance, then these parties really have a chance. And my belief is that that time will come. It may not come immediately, but it will happen. In the next 10 to 15 years, the electorate will start placing a premium on clean politics and good governance. And then these parties will come into their own.
I'm hoping if there's a time machine, probably jump in and then look at how those 10, 15 years would be. And there's definitely a sense of urgency in seeing some good politics, clean politics, good governance, helping out our public in the best possible way. Hyma, let me ask you this. You're right now aiming at contesting the Sanat Nagar election. Situation in Hyderabad is extremely volatile, divisive politics, maligning regional politics, caste, equations, corruption, not a big entity. When they talk about Jagan Mohan Reddy, they say that, what if he's corrupt? Why everyone is corrupt in this world? Of course, his dad, whether he has done corruption or whatever it is, He has brought in some few people, some kind of government schemes that are going to help the public. We care at least if he's corrupt or not. So in this extremely divisive politics, you jiving and gelling into the political spectrum of things, extreme courage is also needed, right? So what's the sense you get, Hyma? I know it's been 1 year or 1.5 years you stepped back, went back to India. What's your state of mind right now? What do you feel? What's the sense you get?
It's been 7 months that I'm here. And, yeah, you're right, Shrikant. I mean, they've divided the state in all possible ways. I don't know if you can divide it anymore. I mean, you have the caste factor, you have the region factor, religion factor, and then subcaste factor. There's again a gender factor that has come in. There's so many factors that are playing a role, and the constituency by itself is divided into so many smaller segments. It's very hard to understand from an outside perspective how you would actually get even a majority. I mean, if anybody could get a majority, but because I was thinking we have around 1 lakh voters in the Sanat Nagar constituency. And we are thinking that this time it will be like 20,000-25,000 votes the winning candidate would get, because the constituency itself is divided. I mean, because the whole entire state of AP is divided in so many ways. But that being said, corruption it is not playing a huge role in the voters making a decision, because they are essentially not able to tie corruption to their personally losing their money. Like, say, for example, when I tell the voters that, see, when you buy a soap, you're spending like probably 2 rupees you're paying the tax from buying a soap or salt or atta or whatever. And then this is the money that the other guy is eating, the corrupt person is eating. They would say that they would anyway have to buy soaps, right, irrespective of who is the CM or who is the MLA. So they might as well vote for somebody that will give them fees reimbursement, or that would make sure that they get a patta for their house. So they're really not able to tie the corruption to their personal loss of money. So corruption, it's very hard for us to explain corruption and then make them vote against corruption at this point. And again, as far as the religion barriers are concerned, they would be short term, as I see, because anything very I mean, you cannot keep people hating each other for a long time, right? After a while, people will see sense, and they understand that this is not viable in a long run. So I think over a period of time, good sense will prevail. You'd have to keep working on talking about good politics and uniting people, and then talking about their own local issues, talking about quality education, something that will unite all the people, because quality education is something that is really, really lacking in Andhra Pradesh right now. Because there are many graduates, engineering graduates, that are out on the streets with very basic, with very minimal communication skills, and they got very poor grades while they were in college, because they really didn't have good teachers, or they didn't have good professors, they didn't have good infrastructure. So we'll have to take up issues that cross this religion barriers. All the parents now know that their kids are not getting quality education. All the parents now know that the kids will not have affordable and good health care. So we would have to now bring up those issues which will cross all these barriers of caste, religion and region. And that's where you'll stand a good chance of uniting people and then winning. So that is a thing that you'd have to play in current political situation. I mean, it will not make sense, because in the short term, it will not fetch a lot of. It doesn't seem to fetch a lot of results, but over a period of time, I think people will really understand, and they'll unite for better life.
Very true. And we have Archana from Los Angeles asking, Hyma, there were some who tried to shoot down your confidence on social networks in the beginning. How did you overcome, or have you overcome? That's the question here, Scott.
Yeah, there was this. It was really surprising. I mean, if you remember, Shrikant, I had done one show before coming to India. There was this show on. I forgot the name of the story. Telugu radio on internet. It's a huge thing. Right. And we had 70,000 listeners at the time, and they asked me, what do you think is the toughest thing that you will face once you go back to India? Is it the culture shock, or what do you think is the toughest thing getting into politics? Then I told them very clearly that character assassination is something that I know will come. How soon or late depends on how well. I mean, how soon I get into politics, real good politics. So I was anticipating this, but again, I was still caught off guard because it's surprising to see so much anger and somebody who could spit so much venom on somebody that he's not seen me or he's not met me, or he doesn't know about my ideologies or what my plans are for for the children of AP. But he really was he wrote a huge essay, if you remember. He put my picture, and then it was a awful thing, and it had so many shares and all. But since I think I already anticipated this kind of a thing, I initially thought of ignoring it because there's no point in really answering. But then again, I thought I had an opportunity here because I wanted to take it as an example and stir the conscience of bystanders. Stir the conscience of people who just stay as bystanders. They neither condemn it or nor approve of it. We unfortunately, India is a land of bystanders. 90% of us are bystanders, or probably 9% are abusers and 1% are victims. So I wanted to stir the conscience of bystanders, especially men. So I retorted with a comment saying, if in India, in a country, if a woman loses, who wins? Because if say for example in your house a woman loses, that means her husband loses, her son loses, her father loses. So for every woman that loses, there are 3 or 4 men that also lose with her. So I've written that piece, and then I was glad that I've done it because I saw it as an opportunity to really tell men that it is a very hard job for a woman to leave her home and step into politics. It's doubly hard when compared to a man, and men should really come out and support instead of doing character assassination. So I think, and I didn't really take it very personally. I did show it to Dr. JP though. I took the printout. I took the printout and showed it to Dr. JP, and then he said, he didn't expect this from an educated person. I think he was doing his PhD or something, this particular person. It is. Yeah, it is a sad thing, but there's so much we can do. He's hiding, he's a coward. He did it on social networks so that he's safe out there, right? So we just took it easy.
Social networks, yeah, and in social networks is a double-ended sword. Right now, clean politics is relying so much on social networks, and it's quite obvious the other side is using it to malign and use it for their spitting venom or whatever it is. And definitely, I'm sure that you're overcoming that, and we definitely hope you overcome all this bad politics as well. And Meera ji, just quickly getting back to the old question on if you look back at 2009 election, what are the simple tweaks you would do, or you would suggest? Even Hyma is here, and I'm hoping Shantala, I don't know, I think we are late in the game, but what are the simple tweaks you would do to your campaign to have a broader impact? Something like you had 10,000 votes earlier. What is the strategy you thought you should have imbibed into the campaign that's going to make 10,000, 50,000, or even winnable votes?
Shrikant, that's $1 million question, and I would really look forward to your listeners providing ideas and suggestions, because I think people like Hyma and Shantalal and me could really benefit from those ideas. It's hard to say. As I said, the logistics of elections in India are absolutely formidable. Hyma has referred to many of the issues. This is a complex country, and the electorate is divided in many ways. So any suggestions you may have would be most gratefully accepted.
Hyma, you're running your campaign aggressively. I see that. What's something you could share with Meera ji that you feel is something that could be applied on the ground, and you feel could make an impact or dent on the votes of the opposition or anybody who's contesting against you? I'm not saying dent it or trouble them, but I'm saying that how would Hyma or how would Meera?
I mean, I'm sure Meera Gar is senior to me, so she would know much more than I. She's already contested once. I could just say, I mean, past 6 months, I had been concentrating on mostly middle and upper middle class areas, wherein, we had been going to the, colonies and meeting with the colony presidents and all. And once I had enough number of, cadre, like, young cadre, I now started moving into the slums. But this is where
Hyma, I think we lost you, right? Is
local leaders coming and saying.
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So now, all along when we were only working on the middle and upper middle class, the opposition and the other parties didn't really.
Lost you again, Hyma. Sorry. So, Meera, you just wanted to. I'm sure you're. Are you there, Meera ji?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So let me share. We had Ashwin Mahesh on NRI Samay earlier, and we had few from IAC team as well, and we had others. We had Bala Saheb Darade, who's an engineer in NASA who returned back home, and we had Nisha Singh on NRI Samay. We had multiple other folks who had just wanted to summarize if it would be any useful to your campaign as well. So Ashwin and his campaign team, and of course Shantala was on the helm of all those things as well. They had a missed call campaign where they had this some kind of a missed call number, and people used to call on that number and then say that, hey, I wanted to, I'm very much interested in candidacy, I want to support you, I want to do my best. So they had this missed call campaign that's there. And few people are writing some good amount of software, helping out get the voter list in a format that helps them, because right now all the data, almost all of this data is in the public domain, and also helping them on the social networks, whatever way possible. Where in Facebook, all these promote options and other things is going to help reach broader community. So some of these interesting things going on all different things. And right now, a fundamental tool of Google Hangout, wherein this elite crowd are all available on Google. So they're using effectively the Google Hangout campaign as well. So just wanted to share with this. Maybe, I don't know, there's multiple other things that we could talk. All I'm talking is technical, but still, these are certain things.
No, that's very useful, Shrikant. Many thanks. I think this is really, I would really welcome this because, you learn every day, and this would be very helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And we definitely share if there's something that's useful going on all these campaigns. And also, Hyma is here. I'd also request Shantala, if possible, that sharing ideas, saying that this is working for me and this is not working for me. Also, communicating, a broader sense of communication, having a Google Hangout between all these folks. Because Nisha from Gurgaon, she's the MCG ward councillor there, and she ran an effective campaign as well. So, and also Bala Saheb Darade, he has been very close to Vidarbha in Maharashtra, and having the blessings of all. At the time, Anna Hazare movement was in the helm of things. And also Ashwin's campaign was backed by, he could fundamentally, the sense I got when I watched Ashwin's campaign is, Justice Santosh Hegde, all these various different eminent people coming out in the open and then saying that I'm supporting Ashwin Mahesh's campaign because he's a clean candidate, greater vision as far as governance is concerned, and all these various things, that added a lot of weightage. And Ashwin himself is a great candidate, of course, there's no doubt about it. So all these endorsements, helping this middle class moving out into the open, coming out into the streets, door-to-door campaign by Santosh Hegdeji, missed call campaigns, social networks, effective usage of Google Hangouts, and all these latest technologies coming through is definitely helping. That's the sense we got on NRI Summit, at least, that I could share with you.
No, many thanks. That's very useful. And I'd welcome staying in touch with you and your listeners to find out more about this.
Absolutely, madam. And I really sincerely hope good conversations on Google Hangout or whatever possible, sharing these campaign ideas with Hyma, Shantala, Nisha Singh, all these women who, and also we had a conversation with Chavira Jawat, who was Sarpanch in Soda Village, They are the people who are on ground, very elite people, but still thought that the grassroots movement would help. So they have so many things to share. Maybe that's one good input that I could talk about. And yep, and I know we have crossed past 45 minutes. I don't know if you have a minute or a couple of minutes that I could really roll out one other question from listeners. What do you think about it?
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, by all means.
Yes, and Hyma, I've got a question from Shravani, especially working in a good Samaritan party like Lok Sabha. Women politicians are soft target for attacks. How well are you prepared today? And some other party workers attack you physically in a public place. I would like to know from Meera Sanyal ji as well about the personal security measures she's taking. Oh, this is a question for Meera ji. Of course, she heard what Hyma had to say. But what about this abusive politics, and what are the personal security measures that you take while you're into politics, Meera ji?
So, to be quite candid with you, when one watches all these Hindi movies, one thinks that actually there is politics is very dirty. And clearly when I was standing in 2009, I was standing against 20 candidates, as you mentioned, 2 sitting MPs, and some other very interesting characters. So I was quite concerned at that time. But I have to say that my experience in the elections was a very clean one. My campaign was entirely on foot. I covered the entire constituency, and I went into all the slums and all the chawls of Bombay, even in South Mumbai, which is a fairly rich constituency. We have 35% of our electorate living in the slums. So I had to cover that entire area. And I must say that there are 2 things which makes me very proud of the Indian democratic system. So even though in actual practice the rules of the game sometimes are tilted against independent candidates, the actual experience on the ground was very safe. I did not face any threat or any physical abuse from any of the opposition. However, much like Hyma, on the social media, one of the major opposition parties and their supporters were quite abusive. But other than that, it was a very safe physical campaign. It wasn't, I didn't feel unsafe at any point in time. Though, as I said, like Hyma has faced, I also faced a certain amount of abuse from one of the political parties and one of the candidates.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, they're not going to leave anyone out there, it looks like. Hyma, let me ask you this. Aam Aadmi Party, you have Lok Sabha Party, you have few other people, independents, saying that we are also clean candidates. Good people splitting votes on this front. Why do you think they all can't come together and then bank on one person in each constituency? What's going on, Hyma? What's the sense you get? I think I lost Hyma. So, Meera ji, let me ask you this. We have Aam Aadmi Party coming in. We have few other candidates from Lok Sabha who say that we are good candidates. We have other parties coming in saying we are also good candidates. Independents, as always, few of them in the urban cloud would contest and then say that we are clean candidates, good candidates. Good, clean candidates all splitting up votes like this. Why is that all these good candidates come together? And this is the same question I asked many social activists. We have seen all these big political parties, Mulayam Singh, Mayawati, Ramvilas Paswan, Lalu Prasad Yadav, lifting their hands in the public in Delhi, saying that we are all together. They have a simple, straightforward agenda saying that power is what we are looking out for. And they're very, very clear in sending that message. Why in the world all these social activists, let's take Didi Medha Patkarji, we have Aruna Roy, we have Asha for Education, Sandeep Pandeyji, we have Kudankulam Vijay Kumar, all of these coming together and then lifting their hands saying that all these social movements are all together and we want good candidates, we want politics to be the right medium to serve the people so that we can help avoid the social problems. So why not all these clean candidates sit together, talk about it, and then come onto one platform? What's the sense you get, madam?
Yeah, I think, Srikanth, it's certainly something that should happen. And I think, one of the reasons we haven't had that happen is that, well, until fairly recently, there were pretty much no good candidates. So good people were simply not entering politics. We are seeing this is a nascent movement. It is just starting. The other thing is, let us talk about, say, for example, the Aam Aadmi Party. And a point I would make is that having someone who is a clean candidate is a necessary but not a sufficient condition. So, for example, with the Aam Aadmi Party, we know that they stand against corruption, and that is something that is absolutely admirable, and we all stand behind it. But other than standing against corruption, what is it that they do stand for? Let us not forget that this is a country of 1.2 billion people. We need to have clear and rational economic policies. We need to have clear and rational domestic, foreign security policies. And by the way, the current political parties do not have clear and rational policies or clearly articulated policies in any of these areas. So if we are going to stand against them, then what we need is for the clean candidates also to have clearly articulated policies on other matters of governance. And that is very critical. So not only do clean candidates have to come together, we also have to have a common platform. And I believe that that is an area which may be divisive, because there are quite fundamental differences in opinion in terms of what is the right way forward. There are many, many parties which have a very strong socialistic bent. India as a whole is hell-bent on pursuing a path of being a welfare state. And as we can see from examples in Europe, this is not sustainable. Out in the United States itself, you can see that the fiscal cliff looms very heavily over your nation. And these are things that we have to address. We have to look at sustainable policies from an economic point of view, from an environmental point of view. We have to determine what is the future of this country going to be. So when people come together, you have to stand on a platform, not just that you're a clean candidate, but also that you agree on certain other things. Because otherwise your coalition will break up, and then you are no different from the established political parties.
Right, absolutely, madam. I can understand the sense of what you're saying. Meera ji, and I really wanted to appreciate you coming today live on NRI Samai, sharing your views, opinions. Also, I had a good conversation having Hyma here as well, and sharing thoughts. And I know it's time all good people unite together. I know there are a lot of fundamental differences, but other side of the bad politics have no fundamental difference. All they want is power. All they are looking for is very straightforward. They have one single norm to come together. They don't have many fundamental differences. What is your opinion on nuclear plant? What is your opinion on FDI? They don't have any difference of opinions. All that they have opinion is about getting to power and then grabbing that number equation. So I sincerely want to thank you for your time coming to our show and then talking about it. I know it's late in the night there, and sincerely thank you very much, Meera ji.
Thank you, Srikanth. It was a real pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you. So, friends, that was Meera Sanyal ji with us live on NRI Samai, and also we had Hyma Praveen as well on NRI Samai. Live today. I had a wonderful conversation, and also, as I mentioned, Meera Sanyal is a banking professional in India who has contested as independent candidate in 2009 Lok Sabha elections, looking forward to 2014 elections for Mumbai South constituency. If I'm right, she's still working out on what her due course of action would be, but that's the sense that I got today. And Meeraji's decision to stand as an independent candidate has attracted a lot of national and international media attention. I'm seriously surprised. We have a lot of enough media space for many different things going on. We have heard about Ashish Nandi's issue going on back and forth, a lot of airtime minutes going on for it, but what about the airtime minutes for clean candidates like Meera ji and also Hyma and others who are contesting? Politics is the only way to serve the people, and in democracy, people, institutions and politics play a fundamental role And if we forget politics as a mainstream profession, and there's nothing that's going to help the people, and that's what Meera ji has talked about, requesting a lot of people, at least women and everyone out there, to seriously think about considering politics as a profession. And stick around in politics, spend some time, and definitely in the next 10-15 years, there's total drift in the way politics are run in the country. And that is exactly what Meera ji has conveyed in this 1 hour discussion that we had. We also had Hyma, who's a successful entrepreneur from Houston, United States, and her love towards politics and intense desire to change society made her to quit and return back to India. She has also played key roles in NRI Voting Rights and also Kill Corruption campaign and Jan Lokpal campaign in USA. Thank you very much thank you very much all the listeners, and also Hyma and Meera ji for being with us on this live show today. Thank you, friends. Thank you for tuning in today.